Where do you start?
Well, clearly this was a premeditated attack. And you begin with the background investigation of the individual to see if he begins or he belongs to a larger group of individuals or radical groups or anarchists or any type of group which can propose this kind of attack. The determination should be made very quickly whether or not this was a lone gunman who potentially is mentally disturbed or whether or not he belongs to a larger group.
Tony Roman, I'm sorry, keep going, Tony. I couldn't hear you at the end there.
Okay, I'm sorry, we had a terrible connection?
A little bit. Sometimes people drop in and out. You were describing that the first thing that you would look at to see is if it was premeditated, and also to try to understand if there was any kind of connection to any sort of larger group. One of the things the police said that actually remind me of other shootings that we've seen is that the gunman, when they were able to capture him, did not put up a fight. In fact, seems like in some ways he was helpful, giving information about his apartment, potential explosives at his apartment. They said he did not resist in any way, shape, or form.
Well, this sounds like an individual who perpetrated the attack to garnish attention for himself, and would seem to be an early indication that he may be mentally disturbed as opposed to belonging to a larger group that would try to perpetrate this type of attack. Individuals such as this are difficult to guard against. Even movie theaters in high crime rate districts that have metal detectors and the like would have a great deal of difficulty trying to stop this kind of attack because the individual apparently planned, prepared, and was well armed and could easily bypass normal security.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, Tony, to stay on the phone for us. We want to show you some aerial pictures. This is from our affiliate KMGH. They have aerial shots of the apartment complex, apparently, where police are now staging. They tell us this is the apartment complex. It could be the apartment complex belonging to the shooter, described as the street being blocked off, people in SWAT attire, and mostly watching by some descriptions, but there are ambulances and fire trucks there as well. The reporters there describe it as being kept at quite a distance from the scene. It is unclear of the actual connection of this apartment building to the shooting, although it would make sense because police had mentioned that the suspect told them of the potential of explosives in his apartment. We know that they evacuated his apartment building, and so this is an apartment complex that they are monitoring. These are the aerial shots coming to us from our affiliate KMGH. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the victims. It was very interesting to see in that cell phone video, and I think we can run that again. In the cell phone video, you see people even just dazed as they walk through the lobby area of the 16 Theater complex.
So we're trying to get a better handle on what kind of injuries you're seeing. Some of the hospitals are saying it's all gunshot wounds, but other hospitals are saying, a doctor at University Hospital just gave an interview and said that they are seeing shrapnel wounds there as well, gunshot wounds and shrapnel wounds. Some of these people look as though maybe they've been grazed. We know that other people are still in that theater. When this cell phone video was being taken place, there were 10 people who were dead in that theater, 14 who died later in the hospital. A 3-month-old child is the youngest that we know who was shot. We're told that child is doing fine. We know a 6-year-old is the youngest child right now at Children's Hospital. They have an age range there from 6 to 45 years old. Some 20 patients are over at University Hospital, and 9 of those are in critical condition. Casey Yancey telling us more about, an ER physician who has this 3-month-old child in the hospital, saying that child is doing okay. Again, gunshot wounds to shrapnel. So we'll be interested to find out what law enforcement Soledad say about what other kinds of weapons this suspect was using. We know there were 3 firearms, 2 on him, 1 that had been stashed in the movie theater. But what are these shrapnel wounds? We know that at one hospital as well, they were decontaminating everyone who was coming in, and people were walking in, not just transported by the police and firefighters, but walking in and going through decontamination because of what was clearly some sort of either a smoke bomb or some other sort of bomb or device that was put off at the very beginning of this whole ordeal.
It's roughly 5 hours now since this shooting happened in Aurora, Colorado, and we can tell you that 14 people reported dead. That number could go higher, though, because 50 other people, that's 50, reported injured, in some cases very critically injured. It happened at the Century 16 movie theater in the Aurora Town Center Mall in Aurora, Colorado. Folks there were watching The Dark Knight Rises, the midnight screening that was showing. You can see a picture there of that movie complex that was being shown on numerous screens inside that complex. Witnesses described people who were coming there were dressed as Batman or dressed as the villain, part of this midnight movie screening. Here's what we know about the gunman at this hour. 24 years old, a bulletproof vest is what he was wearing, also heavily armed. He was taken into custody either at the rear of the parking lot of the theater or in the back of the theater itself. A little conflict on that. Described his capture in the theater. Police say that they took from him a shotgun and a rifle, and they were able to find another gun on the scene in the theater. And witnesses said he was wearing a gas mask and he was wearing goggles. Christine, that would obviously fit with some of the description of this tear gas or whatever the gas was that he released. Witnesses described him as kicking in an exit door, coming right to the front of the theater in this one particular theater, theater number 9 in this 16 theater complex, and then releasing that gas, tear gas, or whatever it was, and then walking up the stairs very calmly by some descriptions and just opening fire randomly, shooting people. We've got some more description from some witnesses who were on the scene. I want to play that for you.
I saw a spark coming from the front right corner of the theater. Well, we got down on the ground so quick, you couldn't see nothing. It was dark still. The lights never came on or nothing like that. And then once everything, the shooting cleared, we just ran up to the top of the theater and ran out. And then once we got outside, you could just see just chaos.
When we got out of the building, it was just chaos. You saw injured people. There was this one guy who was on all fours crawling. There was this girl spitting up blood. There were bullet holes in some people's backs, some people's arms. There was this one guy who was stripped down to just his boxers. It looked like he had been shot in the back or something. It was crazy.
Now you said a couple of your friends were shot, but they're okay?
Yeah, a couple of my friends. One of my friends got skimmed just on the neck. It's a little deep, but he's okay. He was at the hospital, and another one of my friends just got skimmed on the leg, but she's okay also.
And one of your friends you have not been able to reach?
Yeah, my friend AJ. Yeah, he's a really good friend of mine. He was seeing the movie with his girlfriend La Samoa, and from what I heard, it seemed like he just passed out or something, and we haven't been able to get any contact with him. Nobody knows where he is.
Somebody kicked in the emergency exit and started throwing gas grenades and started shooting fucking people at random.
What's that, movie theater number 9?
Number 9, which is the one I was in.
So what'd you do?
At first it took me a second to realize what was actually going on. And as people were running away, I hit the ground so I wouldn't be hit.
Somebody threw gas grenades.
Yeah. That's all I saw. I heard the sound of metal canisters clinking around, and then I saw plumes of smoke.
That's the description of some of the chaos as people left that movie theater. What you're seeing right now is an apartment complex. This is coming to us from our affiliate in Aurora. This is aerial pictures of this complex, and you can see law enforcement is surrounding the building there. Apparently, according to police, that some of the words from the shooter indicated to them that he might have explosives in his apartment, and they mobilized to the area. Others have described ambulances being on the scene, and that people dressed in SWAT gear, SWAT team, apparently on the scene as well there. This apartment complex, the shooter is said to have lived in North Aurora, although some interesting questions about his vehicle, which by some reports had Tennessee plates. So this is obviously what they are monitoring today. The building was being evacuated, according to the police chief a couple of hours ago at a press briefing. He said that they had evacuated that complex. But they are clearly still monitoring it, and we are looking at those pictures coming to us live. Interesting details coming from some of those eyewitnesses as well about this the smoke bomb or the tear gas, whatever it was, because others had described a scrap metal pepper bomb. And now we're hearing from some of the hospitals about injuries that would be consistent with that, shrapnel injuries, in addition to gunshots that we know many of the people suffering with. You can see this gentleman here who's walking through. This is cell phone video that's been released showing the inside of the lobby, in some cases just chaotic, and also others just standing around because, as witnesses described, it was unclear if what was happening was part of the movie, the explosions, the noise, the gunshots, or and it took them a while to figure out that in fact it was some terrible tragedy unfolding.
And clearly, even in theater number 8, where the gunman was not in theater number 8, there were people wounded in theater number 8. The bullets went right through the sound baffling between the two movie theaters. We know that they're decontaminating some people who are coming into the hospitals because of their exposure to tear gas. We know there are shrapnel wounds. We know there are gunshot wounds. Gunshot wounds ranging from just grazes to serious gunshot wounds to obviously fatalities because of gunshot wounds. 14 fatalities overall.
And 50 people injured, some of them very critically, so there are some expectations that that number could rise.
Some surgery right now.
Yeah, it's devastating injuries. Want to get to Gil Alba. He's a former NYPD detective joining us by phone. Gil, thanks for talking with us. We certainly appreciate it. Let's talk about the investigation at this phase. Early on, we knew that the police there were looking for potentially a second suspect. It seemed pretty early on that they were able to determine that there was no second suspect, that in fact the shooter, who has not been named, was acting alone. Where would your investigation go from here?
Well, the fact that they caught him and you know I think that once they caught him, he started talking, and that's where they got all the information about a bomb in his house and everything else. I think the fact he gave up, he may have exhausted all his bullets and everything else, and he had nothing left. That's one of the issues, and once you get somebody like that, they do talk and they do tell you everything. So that's one possibility that could happen with the shooter. Again, I mean, this happened in the dark theater. Everybody's disoriented when something like that. A bomb goes off, and then gas bombs, and then shootings. So, this guy really planned this really well. And, that's why police are trained. They get all this training, but they're really not prepared for something like this. So they have to come, they have to get help. FBI gets involved because you don't know if it is some kind of organization. So everybody comes, and I'm glad they found the guy right away. And they think it's only one shooter at the time, so that's pretty good. I mean, they helped all the kids. They put them in the cars and took them to the hospitals and took them every place. So you see, it's chaotic even for the police department, but still they have to be organized at this point.
Some witnesses described this smoke bomb or a tear gas bomb that was set off first before the shooter apparently just started opening fire kind of at random people in the theater number 9. How easy would it be for someone to get access to tear gas or to a smoke bomb, or is that something that they would have to make, or you could even make from scratch at home?
Yeah, this guy obviously had this planned. I mean, this is all premeditated. So you could get all this stuff, probably on the internet or something like that. And so he already knew how he was going to do it. This was well planned out. And he even know the reaction and starting to shoot and shot all over the place. It's not like a direct shot. So, he
don't know what he's talking about.
Wanted to take as many people out as possible.
You mentioned the police training, and many of the eyewitnesses described the degree to which the police were very organized and that there was not tremendous chaos, that they were able to come in and kind of take control right away. I wonder how much of that would be because of what was learned in Columbine, which was a devastating shooting that happened not very far, probably 19 miles or so away from Aurora, Colorado.
Yeah, no, that had a lot to do with, across the country, not only there. I mean, all the schools and everybody's prepared. And you're right, this is a learning process. That's why the police now have to gather everybody, gather all the witnesses. And one thing that's important is how many people were in there and who was in there, and make sure they find out that everybody was in there. And again, you have to study this and find out how to prevent something like this or deter it or something to this effect. And that's why this will be another case study. And that's why all the information information, all the cell phone videos, all the eyewitnesses. All this is extremely important to get the information. And really, they want to get the information to find out, is this the only gunman? Could this happen again in another theater? Could this happen again in another ballpark? Or, at this time, is anybody else involved in this? So this is what they're looking for.
Gail Dalbo was with the NYPD. Thanks for talking with us. Appreciate it. I want to get to eyewitness Derek Pogue. He was actually in that specific theater, theater number 9, when the shooting happened. Derek, thanks for talking with us. Why don't you start by describing what you saw?